The fascist messaging ain't going to work, folks. So I stumbled across a thread by a kid named Cabot Phillips. You should go check him out on X. He says, I went to Clayton, Georgia, where 70% of voters are black to hear their thoughts on Donald Trump. I now believe the polls showing him winning record support among black voters. We have showed you this over and over and over again in the polling. And here he is, no political agenda, just talking to people outside a grocery store. Listen.
When you hear the name Kamala Harris, just what are the first few things that you think of come to mind?
Honestly, I just don't take her serious. I just feel like maybe she's a puppet, for the Democratic Party to win certain demographic votes. So
interesting.
Yeah.
And what about Donald Trump? When you hear that name, what do you think?
Even though he says like sarcastic things, I feel like his views on like protecting the border are on point. That's just something I agree with. And then his capitalistic ways. I know capitalism isn't everybody's favorite, but I think it's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're here at a grocery store, obviously. Have you felt like prices have gotten more expensive in the last few years?
Yeah, most definitely. And I don't feel like Kamala going into office is going to change that at all. Okay. It's just a different face. Yeah.
Oof. Now listen, black Americans do not like the invasion at our southern border. They despise it. And it's amazing to me that Trump is able to get this message to them because I think it's resonating. Listen to Tom Homan last night on 60 Minutes. This is a whole nother thing. 60 Minutes was running this big propaganda operation in anticipation of Donald Trump being back in office. Well, look at this family. They're all illegal immigrants. Essentially, when Donald Trump gets back in there, he's going to deport them all. And oh my God, that's going to be so sad. I'm telling you, if Donald Trump wins and if he moves forward with a massive deportation operation, which absolutely has to happen if we are to save this country, you will see the media embark on one of the greatest propaganda campaigns you will ever witness, and they're already starting it now. But Tom Homan was on 60 Minutes talking last night about the border, and he blew this reporter's mind, the 60 Minutes reporter. Listen.
We have seen one estimate that says it would cost $88 billion to deport 1 million people a year.
I don't know if that's accurate or not.
Is that what American taxpayers should expect?
What price do you put on national security? Is that worth it?
Is there a way to carry out mass deportation without separating families?
Of course there is. Families can be deported together.
Exactly. I mean, this idea that we shouldn't deport people who come here illegally is preposterous. I mean, we are the most generous nation on the face of the planet. We let in millions of legal immigrants every year who come the right way. To let anyone in illegally is profoundly unfair to the people who come to this country legally. We are under no obligation to take a single illegal alien, and those who do come illegally should be deported. But we should absolutely start with the gangbangers and the criminals and the violent criminals who have come into this country. Well, listen to this voter from Georgia.
Scary, the election coming up, Donald Trump versus Kamala Harris. Who do you want to win?
Donald Trump.
All right. And why is that?
Well, it gives me at least the answers to the questions about the economy, about the border. Those things are very important. And I feel it every time I spend my money, regardless of what I buy. I know I'm paying more for everything. And so, and just also basic things when they ask, Vice President Harris, are Americans better off today than 3.5 years ago? I don't hear an answer to the question specifically. I mean, I hear nice things being said, rhetoric and all of that. And so for me, I got to vote on what makes sense. I was an immigrant. I had to join the line. Yeah. I had to wait 12 years. And so for me, that's important that they do actually know who is coming into the country.
Yeah. Look at this. It's crazy, right? And one more before we go.
Who do you like more between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris?
Well, I like Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, of course. But they haven't been doing a good job And when Trump was in power, he was doing a much better job with the economy and dealing with foreign affairs, and there was no wars. Everybody was making money. The economy's been going down, and I don't know, it's just people losing their jobs for other people that are coming in the country. So I think if Trump would be, I think I would give Trump a chance.
I'm interested. Some of the voters that we've spoken to said they feel like Donald Trump is racist. Do you believe that?
He does say some things that I think are offensive to people, like to black people, Hispanics and stuff. But, you know, I'm looking at the dollars and cents. America is about, you know, money, making money and living, trying to get the American dream. So I kind of put that to a side and look at the finance part of it.
I told you from the very beginning that this election for the vast majority of America is going to come down to the economy, how much money they have in their bank account, whether or not they can put food on the table for their family, whether or not they can fill up their cars, whether or not they can invest in their children's future, whether or not they can take that vacation that they wanted to take or maybe put off for the last 3 years. This matters to everybody. And I just think that we are in a good place, folks. So I'm going to ask you to just pray and work your ass off for the last week. I don't care what state you're in. I don't care if you're in a swing state or not. If you voted by mail, check the status of your ballot again and again and again. If you're voting in person, show up and bring 10 people with you. Go through your cell phone. Find 10 people, shoot text messages to them, especially if you think they're going to vote for Republicans, and ask them to get out to the polls on election day. Every single one of you, I need you to do that. We have one shot to save this country. One. This is it. This is it. It's all on the line.